Hello, hello. My name is Michelle. I am 51 and I have been trying to figure out this budgeting stuff for a few decades now. But I think I figured I'm getting closer. Like, I got the secret sauce, I think. So I've been tracking my spending now for about, oh goodness, probably 6 or 7 months. And each time, like, I'm getting better. So if you've seen some of my previous videos, you've seen that what I've been doing is giving myself a $150 budget and then just tracking my spending from there. But what I have found is, after looking at my totals for the last week of April, which would be Friday, April 24th to Thursday, April 30th, I realized a $150 budget just is not realistic. And so I think this is like one of the good things about budgeting, is that you're no longer living in a fantasy world. You literally get to see, okay, how much money am I really spending? And then how can I make sure I'm still living the life I want to live, but at the same time, make sure that I'm staying within my budget and I'm not overextending myself. So I'm going to go over my numbers and I'm going to scoot over, and then I'll put the little picture like somewhere over here. Okay, so February, y'all, it's all tired. Friday, April 24th, I spent $76.82, and that was on fun, fuel, and office supplies. I'm on the West Coast, gas is really high. I've just decided I just put $25 in my tank every Friday, and the goal is to get to the next Friday. So far, it's been working. After that, and with fun, I just take out $20 every week and just try to do something fun, because I just feel like I'm so focused on like bills and just basic living expenses that I'm not actually living. I'm so busy just trying to pay bills and stuff and stay afloat. So I wanted to give myself, $20 a week just to do something fun with. So after Friday, I had $73.18 left. Then on Saturday, April 24th, I spent $39.80, and that was on food, office supplies, and dining out. Honestly, April has just been a stressful month, and so that shows up in my budget with a lot of dining out, just a lot of junk food, stuff like that. So I actually end up going to Taco Bell and McDonald's in the same day. And then office supplies, I'm still trying to get this office area together, so I think office supplies will just keep landing on my budget each week. So that left me with $33.38. Then on Sunday, April 26th, I spent $59.22, and that was on food, household, and dining out. For household, I was like, I really need to I'm trying to create like a cozy vibe at my new place. And so I went to Bath and Body Works and got me like one of those little plug-ins, because they smell so good. So that's what that $14.98 was. And that left me with a minus $25.84. Then on Monday, April 27th, I spent $15.30 on an acai bowl. Every Monday, I kind of get myself a little acai bowl. And that was also my aunt's birthday. Rest in peace to my. She's one of my favorite aunts. My aunt Chi. And so I spent $15.30, and then that left me with a minus $41.14. And I almost went to the casino that day because she was a big gambler, and I was gonna do something in her honor. But instead, I used my $20 of fun to buy some scratch offs in her honor. Unfortunately, I didn't win anything. All right, Tuesday, April 28th, I spent $4.89 on food, which then left me with a minus $46.03. Then on Wednesday, April 29th, I spent $15.64. That was household and dining out. Went to McDonald's again. And that left me with a minus $61.67. And then Thursday, the day I close out my budget, I try to make that a no-spend day. But unfortunately, that's not what happened this past week. So I ended up spending $29.38, and that was on dining out and then fun. I had met like this lady in Dollar Tree. I'm like super friendly. So I met this lady in Dollar Tree, and she was asking me where I was from, and I was kind of like, oh, I haven't been here that long. And she told me she's been here for a few years. She was like, oh, we should totally meet for lunch. So we ended up meeting for lunch, and so that's what that $23.66 was. So total, it was $29.38, which then left me with a negative $91.05. So if you total up how much I spent between Friday the 24th to Thursday the 30th, it was $241.05, which means I was over $91.05. And so my total for the week was $43.66 for fun, $25.27 for fuel, $39.10 for office supplies. Food was $39.82. Dining out was $66.67. And then household was $26.53. So when I look at my totals, because this is what I use, I made this little sheet, and it just lets me add up my totals for each week so I can kind of have it all in one place. And so when I look at my total spending for April, now the budget for April was $600. However, when I add up fuel, I spent $100.94. Household was $196.42. Food was $343.02. Dining out was $162.64. Hobbies, $23.17. Health and wellness was $118.10. Miscellaneous was $100.24. Office supplies was $73.27. And then this fund total is technically off, because this fund, it just says $23.66, but I take 20 out each week, so really it should be more than that. So that total comes to $1,161.45. So based on me, really, this was the first month, April was the first month that I really gave myself a weekly budget and then checked in every week. And now I see, okay, $150 is not enough. Because when you look at my individual spending on each week, it's not like I'm spending a ridiculous amount of money on stuff. So I've decided starting in May to increase my budget by $50 a week. So now it's going to be $200 a week. And I've also started sinking funds for household and office supplies, and also events, because this money has to come from somewhere. So I think that's going to help me kind of get my budget kind of more in a rhythm. And so how I'm funding my sinking funds is I've been doing some supplemental work. I'm a retired teacher, so my pension money covers my basic living expenses for the most part. Then I've been doing some supplemental work. So the supplemental work, the first goal of the supplemental work is it's filling in the gap between my pension and just my living expenses, which tends to be maybe about $300 or $400 of a gap each month. Then I'm a real estate investor / landlord, so I have property back on the East Coast, and so it's also going to help with any of the utility bills, or any just to help build capital reserves, because sometimes I'm doing the rent by the room model right now. So if a room is empty, then then that's less revenue for that month, and then I have to kind of do my owner investment into it. So that's also where the supplemental work goes. And then I have a TPT store, which focuses primarily on 6 through 12 ELA resources. I have sub-plans and movie guides and that kind of stuff, and a few book studies. And so that money is used to fund my sinking funds. Originally, I was kind of rolling that money into my everyday spending, but I've decided now it's just easier, and I feel like it'll help me kind of get a cushion with my money. So now what I'm doing is I'm also trying to get a month ahead. So I am contributing, every time I get my supplemental pay, I'm contributing $125 to my to my 1 month ahead fund. It's probably going to take me close to 12 months to get 1 month ahead, but I just feel like part of my issue is I'm trying to build savings habits, because I'm really good at making money, really good. But the issue is I'm really good at making money, but I don't have any systems set up around my money, which means I'll have this money coming in, and then I'll look up and be like, okay, what happened to that money? and it just kind of gets looped into my everyday spending and it disappears. So I realized I have to be more intentional with, like, before I even make the money, where exactly is this money going? What's its purpose? So I'm hoping with this supplemental work that'll help me build my capital reserves for my business, as well as build the sinking funds. And then I also be able to use TPT funds. I don't really have like a big sales on TPT. Like a given month could range from like $40 to $60. You know, a few times I've made like $500, but even with that, because I don't have money systems set up and they're not on a rhythm, I get that money and then it just is like a leak in a boat or something, because before you know it, I can't find it. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any tips or tricks, suggestions, please let me know. Let me know, are you tracking your spending? If you're not, I totally recommend it, because it really does change the way you manage your money. And I think it also kind of takes the shame out. You know, sometimes like we feel guilty about spending money, which I don't think you should. So I think that if you're aware of what you're spending, then you can set realistic budgets for yourself, and then you can look at the trade-offs, like, well, you know, I'll spend less here so I can spend more there. And that's why in this current season, I already know office supplies is just going to continue to show up in my budget until I get my office area kind of the way I want it. And, you know, I'm completely okay with that. So as always, thank you for watching. And until later, be grateful. Bye-bye.